changes.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome into the Rockstarflipper YouTube channel. And you guys know I've been telling you to sell hard goods, electronics, video games, and a lot of you sell clothes, and that's awesome. I'll link the 50 best clothing video down below. Check it out for 2020. Here is 25 of the best video games, specific video games, and video game types. So genres, style, systems, you know, I'm kind of going to combine those two, but into 25 of the best type of video game things that you should be selling in 2020, eBay or Amazon. They sell on both platforms. Make sure you're ungated on Amazon. But these are some of the bread and butter, some of the ones that you could definitely pick up. You should see them on a regular basis. They do well. They consistently sell fast, and you'll make good profits, whether you find them at pawn shops or yard sales or thrift stores or estate sales or what have you. These are the ones and the types that you should be keeping an eye out for in case you want to make some money. Now, as always, in addition to these 25 video games and types and styles, the video game systems, the hard goods, the electronics, and all those clothing and shoes, if you decide you want to go that route, are part of my 2020 package below. You can grab the entire bundle, covers over 700 items, plus you get all the videos and the accounting and the social media. You get it all, and it's just one link, it's just one time, and you will thank me later because you're going to make so much money off of these video games. Speaking of them, let's jump over to my screen and show you some of the best video games you can buy this year, 2020, to make money on eBay and Amazon. All right, welcome in to my eBay screen here using the iPad app. So it's going to look like mobile, not like desktop, but that's okay. We get through it. I just started with Pokemon, everyone's favorite, right? Pokemon video games, there are two sides to. Number one is that you have to make sure they're authentic, especially the Nintendo DS, 3DS, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy games. Unfortunately, when Pokemon went through the roof and it was so popular, which it still is, they were heavily faked. People were reproducing these like nobody's business to the tune of millions of copies. So I could go through how to tell if they're fake or not. It kind of came to me over a lot of years and hundreds of expensive mistakes. Trust me, I bought and sold as many real ones as I did fake ones. I had to throw away so many fake ones and could only sell about half of the used ones that were good. They're just really heavily faked, and it's hard to tell. On the labels, sometimes you can catch misspellings, you can catch blurred text, you can catch missing Nintendo trademarks. There's all kinds of things to look for. You can Google it, YouTube, what to look for. But just be very careful when buying and selling these. But if you do, they're worth a lot of money. Just this particular Heart Gold one can be worth in the $50, $60, $70, and that's used. This thing was only 50 bucks when it came out brand new. Remember that. And it maintained a lot of its value. Somebody there selling the box only got $14, so that should tell you something. But they're really good. You can't sell them on Amazon. They're completely gated with the exception of a few of them. For most people, I can sell some of them because of my history. A lot of times if you see this USA stock, US version, they're going out of their way to sell a Pokemon Pearl for $11.99 that's USA stock. The game's probably worth 25 or 30, I would assume, and they're just trying too hard. It's probably fake. So just be really careful, but Pokemon anything is absolutely #1 video game that you should be on the lookout for. Okay, the second one is going to be Japanese RPG games, and one that you can look up is called and it's for like PS2 is where it originally came out. The Japanese style games, like RPG type games, just do really well. And so Dragon Quest is one that I've always had good luck with. If we go to solds and we go to, well, we'll just look at sold all conditions. The Dragon Quest, it's 8. There's different versions, but 8 was always probably a good one. You know, again, these are Journey of the Cursed King. These are games that are 20 to 25. You know, sometimes there's some of them that are $30, $35. So any of these, you know, Dragon Quest is just one version. Radiant Historia, that's another one you can look up. If we clear this out to Radiant Historia, this is just another one of those type of, it's called Perfect Chronology. And we filter, this is 3DS game. And this could be on any system, not just PS2, but any system. Any of these type of Japanimations, I mean, they're 30, 40, 50, and they sell so fast. So just keep an eye out. Cosmic Star is one. Atelier Lydia is another one. There's just so many I could list, but if you see any with Japanese characters and anime on the cover, it's probably worth taking a second look at. So that's number 2, is Japanese animation. Number 3 is PS1 games, but they're called Black Label, and I'm going to show you Final Fantasy VII, which is one of my favorites. Final Fantasy VII, one of my favorite games ever. Everyone will know what I'm talking about. And so we just go to PS1. And these are called Black Label ones. They're worth more money. So do you see the label on the PlayStation 1 game, right? Do you see how it has that Black Label-ish? If you come over here, see how this has greatest hits, it's green. There's different versions of these. If you go and you look up the Black Label, you actually type in Black Label, you're going to see the prices are higher. Let's look at sold listings. Okay. And when this pops up, which should have just popped up, not sure why it didn't. Come on, sold. Sometimes the iPad mobile app is just really slow. I'm not really sure why. There we go. Let's filter by solds. Okay. And so we have 31. We have a combo 60. We have some more 20, some 50 combos. Somebody's selling a sealed one for 600, which is crazy. Most of these are going to be $30, $40. The regular one is only worth about 20. So it's worth almost double the price to get some of these Black Label ones. And that's because the complete Black Label included everything. And it's typically the original one that came out. It's not the greatest hits. It's the one everyone wants. Collectors will want it more. And people just want that original Black Label one that came out. Final Fantasy VII, one of the best games for PS1. Again, a $30, $40 game. Even in regular, it's worth 20. But Black Label, great. Okay, sports games are to be avoided for the most part. There are 2 exceptions right off the top. There's more than 2, but these 2 are the most popular ones. So they are NCAA Football 2014. The reason it's the last year that they made it, so most of these games are worth like $5, the NCAA games. But if we look at 14 for Xbox 360, for example, this game is worth anywhere from like $40 to $50 on up to $70. So this is one, you know, people don't realize NCAA Football 14 is, they just think it's just a regular football game that's worth like $2. When in fact, you might go out to pawn shops and find this thing listed for, you know, $2.99, $3.99 because they don't know any better, and you can take it home and sell it for $70. So really good one. The second one to look for is going to be NCAA basketball. So that's football 2014, and then basketball 2010. Okay, so this one not quite worth as much, but still quality price here. About 40 on average, up to 50. I mean, it's close. So NCAA basketball 2010 and football 2014, and these games are going to be $40 to $60 games. So you can pay up to $10, $15 for those and make good profits, but you should be able to find them really cheap. So that's number 4, those 2 games. Okay, number 5 is going to be Mario Kart. Just about any Mario Kart sells really well if we go to filter solds. And it doesn't matter whether it's Wii or the original Nintendo 64 or even the newer, you know, like Wii U or Nintendo Switch also does well. So you can see the original Mario Karts for Wii, the original ones, they're about a $20 to $25 game. That game is like 10 years old, literally. If we scroll down to Mario Kart 8 for Nintendo Switch, they're like $40, $45 games. The only one is Mario Kart DS is only worth about $10, $12. Here's Super Nintendo, Super Mario Kart. This one sold for about $33. Right on par. It's about a $30 game. Here's Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube. That one's worth about $40 to $45. Here again, Mario Kart 8. Here's Super Mario Kart for Nintendo NES. It's the manual only. They got $8. Again, that's a $30, $35 game. Here it is again. Somebody sold it for $18.50 with free shipping. They let it go a little cheap. Shouldn't have gone. Here's, again, Mario Kart 7. It looks like the DS and 3DS ones are the cheapest, about $14. That's because they're harder to play on those small systems. Here's Mario Kart 64, sold for almost $30. Here's another one that sold for over $30, so that one's a good one. You're looking at most of these. Mario Kart 8, again, for the Switch, $43. So any Mario Kart going to do just about as well. Now, one of my favorite games of all time also is Super Smash Brothers, and there's several systems that it's on. and several versions of it, excuse me. So Super Smash Brothers, of course, the original way back in, you know, like the Nintendo 64, GameCube years. Let's go ahead and filter these by solds. And we can see Ultimate Super Smash Brothers for the Switch, about a $40 game. Here's Super Smash Brothers Brawl for Nintendo Wii. That one's going to be cheap. I don't know why the Nintendo Wii one never did well, but here's Super Smash for Nintendo 64, $40. Here's one for $40. Really great. The Brawl, 10 to 15 bucks. Not really great. Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. Again, the Wii and Wii U's never did as well. This one should be about 18 to 20. This one they sold for 17 and change. Could have got a little more for it. Here's the Melee for GameCube. Again, the GameCube one will do really, really well. That one they got over 50 for. Again, the Wii one, only $15, and that's about right, but still decent. As you keep scrolling down, you get Melee again for GameCube, $46. So you guys get the point. Super Smash for N64. This one, $50. Here's the one for 3DS. Again, harder to play. This one, about 16 to 18, up to $20 for that one. But you guys can see, here's Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. Again, $18.49. Should have been about 20 bucks. So those two, be careful with. But the older ones, N64, GameCube, things like that, and the Nintendo Switch going to do really, really well. So Super Smash Brothers, one of my favorite games for N64. So speaking of N64, some of the original N64 games like Star Fox 64 and Super Mario World 64. Whoops. Let's go back. Star Fox 64. These games are so collectible. People love the N64 games. If you go to solds on Star Fox 64, we get, and I put a space in Star Fox. There shouldn't have been. Let's do that again. And let's filter by solds. So this game, about a $15 to $20 game, depending on what you're selling it, what kind of condition it's in. So Star Fox has come down a little bit, but if we look up Super Mario 64, again, 64 games, I'll show you a couple more. Super Mario 64 has always done really, really well. It's about a $20 to $22 game. It's just a quick flip. You find one, you know, upwards of 30 sometimes. You find one for $3 or $4, $5, you can sell it. Also, GoldenEye 64. God, I can't spell. I'm probably the worst speller on the iPad because I typed too fast on it. GoldenEye 64 is again going to be one that people, just the nostalgia of GoldenEye 007. Was that Pierce Brosnan was that one? Again, a $20, $25 game, easily all day, up to 30 bucks depending on the condition and the label. All these N64 games, just fantastic, fantastic games to sell. And you can look them up. You can look up things like Stunt Racer. You can look up even Turok does okay sometimes. The Marios, all that kind of stuff. Great, great games. N64 games like that. Now, the Super NES has Final Fantasy that does really well. We talked about Final Fantasy Black Label PS1. If we go over here to Final Fantasy for the Super NES, the older original Final Fantasy games, if we sort these by, not sale items, by sold items, and we look these up, Super NES Final Fantasy 3 is pretty expensive. It's rare. I've sold a few of them. Most of the time, you know, here's a sealed one they sold for $200 plus 4. Here's a used one they sold for $42. Most of the time it's in between the $30 and $40 up to $50 range for the used ones. Somehow people get open box ones or brand new ones they're able to get over $100 to $200 for, but most of the time you're going to see them selling in that range. So Super NES, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, all fantastic for the older system. Love Final Fantasy games. Okay, obviously the newest released games, anything that just came out. So if we look at PlayStation 4 and we look up just like a random search for a PlayStation 4 game, didn't mean the system, and we go to solds and we make sure we're in the category of video games instead of consoles, which should allow us to see things like the newest ones. So we look up things like Fallout 76. That's a little bit old. We look at Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a 2018 game. That game's still selling for like $25 to $30. New other. World War Z, which came out in 2019, still selling for about $13, $14. These are cheaper ones. Dragon Quest 11, 9 Echoes. That one's, you know, kind of on the Japanimation. But if you look at things in 20 games that just came out near Christmas. Just Dance 2020, you guys can see some of the prices. PlayStation 4 Zombie Army 4 Dead, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot 2020 game. You guys can see Dreams for the PS4, again 43, 59. Anything that's come out in about the last 6 months. FIFA 20, $40. Any sports games that are dated for the following year. So in 2019, that's when they released the 2020. At the end of this year, they'll release 2021. So you always want to get those newest released games. Those will do well. Okay, Zelda, obviously one of the greatest characters in the history of video games. Zelda games almost always do fantastic. Doesn't matter the system. If we look at sold listings for just Zelda, you got The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. That's like an N64 game. You've got, if we go to categories here and we just search for video game consoles and video games, and then we filter by category video games only. That way we get rid of all of our toys, which toys are good too. There's Ocarina of Time N64 for $27. Here's the Wind Walker for GameCube, sold for $32 plus $4. The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition for GameCube, $50 all in. So you guys can see all these. Here's the Zelda Majora's Mask for N64 from 2000. That's a $42 game. Here's Breath of Wild for Nintendo Switch, $38 game, and that's 3 years old. Link's Awakening for Nintendo Switch. We got Ocarina of Time again. All the Zelda games. If you even look up, the NES does okay. It's not as good, but here is the original Gold Kart. You guys are familiar with that. Anywhere from about $20 to $30, depending on the condition, if you have the original sleeve, etc. The Adventure of Link, Zelda 2 was my favorite. People don't like it, but I do. $35, $60, $40. There's one for $15. It's not in great condition, has nothing with it. But yeah, a lot of those really, really good. Zelda games, fantastic. Okay, NES, Flintstones, one of my favorite cartoons. All this stuff's my favorite. NES Flintstones game, worth a fortune, but heavily faked. Be very careful with the NES Flintstones game. Okay, it's called, well, the original one, The Rescue of Dino and Hoppy, is only worth about 15 to 20, but Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, that's the one that's worth a lot of money, right? Surprise at Dinosaur Peak. This is the one people love. So you can see, look, somebody has faked it. They sold this game for $25 fake. Here's what it's actually worth. There's the original listing. Surprise at Dinosaur Peak is worth about anywhere from the $700-800 up to $1,000. Here's another one. You have to be really careful. This says Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, original. I might have just clicked sell one like this. Yeah, I didn't want to sell one. But here it is. And so if they've got the paperwork on it and they can show that it's real, there's ways to look at the motherboard and see that it's real. But look at all these. Look, reproduction. See, reproduction. You can play the game if you want to play it just for yourself. Otherwise, it's fake. Look, here, somebody sold one for $509. That's what it's worth. It's not in fantastic condition. So they only got about $500 for it. But that's not terrible. Look, somebody, is that just the box they sold for $375? Here's one. Again, it's about a $700-800 game, up to $900 or $1,000. Surprise at Dinosaur Peak. It's a fantastic game. You can see all these people, mid fives, mid sixes, mid fives, mid six. 500 to 600 is probably the low end. You know, 1,000 is probably the high end. I would think 750 is probably the average, but that game is just absolutely bonkers. And you can tell by looking at the motherboard that's in it if you happen to come across one, but you'll have to do some research on how to tell that. Okay. Speaking of old school, let's go back to some of our favorite characters. Spyro the dragon, right? Spyro the dragon. Okay. How many of you love Spyro? Tell me about your Spyro adventures, because we all love Spyro. If we go to solds, and we look up Spyro the Dragon solds, we can see there's PS2 Legend of Spyro, $29 game. Again, PS1, not so good. That's about a $15 game. Here's Spyro Year of the Dragon, PS1. There's that black label again, 20 bucks. Here's Spyro for Xbox 360. That one sold for about $37. We got a PS4 Trilogy one that sold for $25. I think I own this on my PS4, actually. Played it a few times. Here's another PS1 Greatest Hits, sold for $35. Most of the Spyros are going to be $20 to $30 games. So hopefully you guys are getting kind of the idea that most video games, you want to pay between $1 and $10 for the majority of them, is they're going to be worth 20, 25, up to 35. You know, obviously a lot of video games are only worth 10 bucks or less, but if you're getting these ones that I'm telling you, you're going to be looking at an average sale price. My average sale price on Amazon for most of this stuff is around 25 to 30. Most of my average cost of goods are about 4 to 5. So, you know, if I'm averaging, say, 26 and I'm paying 4, I'm making 22 after fees and shipping. I'm making about $15 a game, $16 a game, which is about my average. I sell some expensive ones that help out, and I sell some cheap ones that bring it down. But I'm happy to make $15, $16, $17 a game and sell, you know, 6, 8 games a day, 10 games a day, and make 150, make, you know, 4,000, 5,000 a month in profit on 8,000 in sales. Just depends. Okay, so Spyro, one of our heroes from back in the day. We love Spyro. And one of the better other heroes from back in the day, everybody's going to love this guy, Crash Bandicoot. And Crash Bandicoot game is absolutely another one of the top games, top heroes. We can filter Crash by solds. And Crash has some updated ones from PS4 and Xbox One, which are going to sell for about $20 per game for the PS4s, Xbox Ones. But look back at the original Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 greatest hits from PS1. Somebody sold the set for $50. That's awesome. That's Crash Bandicoot Warped, Crash Bandicoot the original. Awesome games. There's some original ones like PS2. This one is called The Wrath of Cortex. Not so good. It's only about a $10 to $12 game. So be careful on that one. Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped for PlayStation 1, another cheap one, but if you can get them all in a group, they're best. I don't know why they sold this one for $5. This one should have been worth about 15, at least 10, 15. Again, as a lot, they're fantastic. 55 plus 8. They got $63 for this lot of 4 of them. So lotting them together does really well. So here, yeah, this is the original Crash, an $18 game all by itself. Here's the Black Label one, $21.50. Here is Crash Bandicoot 2, Black Label, $15. So you can see putting them all together tends to help out quite a bit. So Crash, another one of our heroes from back in the day. Okay, heads up on this one, adult-themed games. There are several of them, and they do well. So Playboy had a video game called the Playboy Mansion for original for Xbox. There was also on PS2. It did show things. Way back in the day, I saw this game for the first time. I don't think I ever owned it personally, but I did buy and sell it, so I was able to put it in and roll through it a little bit. It's about a $20 to $25 game if it's in good condition. So you guys can see, again, original Xbox, original PS2 game. There's also, if you look up video game, and it's called Bubble, I think it's called Bubble... not Bubble Bop. Bubble Bop is a good one, but there's another one somebody can help me with. I should have done the research with this one. I think it's called Bubble Bath Babes. That's what it's called, Bubble Bath Babes. This one I've seen, it's overseas, but I've seen a couple of these Bubble Bath Babes, and I've actually seen them here in the US, and I've seen them at a pawn shop, and they wanted way too much money for it, but I've seen this game, and it is only worth about $25. I mean, some of them sold a little less, but there are reproductions of this as well, so be careful. But if you look, Bubble Bath Babes, and that's exactly what you would think, but it literally sells. I mean, they sold it all the time, like no joke. So adult theme games can definitely sell well. Just keep your eye out. Okay, let's move on. I don't know what number we're on, but Mario Party, we keep getting back to Mario's the original. Mario Party has been a fantastic game for 20 plus years. It came out, God, I don't know the year, but it definitely came out way back in GameCube years. So Mario Party was on the N64 20, 25 years ago. It's still a $30, $35 game. The Wii ones still do well. They're a classic. People love playing Mario Party. People love playing Super Mario Party for the Switch. People love playing any game that they can get together. Here's a Mario Party. Here's what I'm talking about. GameCube for 2002, and that's Mario Party 4. So at least 4 years before that, this game came out at least Mario Party, you know, there's a 6 as well, but Mario Party 1 or 2 had to have come out in like 98. So you're talking about 22 years, 23 years ago. So that one sold for 35. There's Mario Party 6 for the GameCube from 2004. Here's Mario Party 2 from N64, and that was 99. So that was 21 years ago. So what I thought, about 20 to 22 years ago is how old this game is. But you can see most of them up in the 30s and 40s. Really, really great. Here's somebody with 4, 5, 6, and 7 for GameCube, all lotted together, and they got $170 for the sets of them. So fantastic lot they sold there. Okay, one of the all-time greatest hits of any series is Castlevania. And the reason that Castlevania was so good is it was ahead of its time when it first started coming out. This was a game I played a lot back as a kid on N64. Again, the original Castlevania Legacy of Darkness for N64 is a $40 to $60 game. They got 70. I'm kind of surprised it went that high. Even the PS2 game, that one not so good. It's the older ones you're looking for. Castlevania 4 here went for over $30. Castlevania 4 there at $25. The Game Boy Advance game, Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, does okay. The Circle of Moon, again, $20. The original NES games, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and Castle Quest, they do well. This one only 16. Here's Castlevania Bloodlines for Sega Genesis. It does fantastic. I didn't know it did that well. I thought it was like a $50 game. Apparently it does really well for Sega. Here is some more. Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4, $35. The Nintendo DS had one, Portrait of Ruin. That one does well. There's Castlevania 3, which is Dracula's Curse. That's one I loved playing from the 90. You know, I probably got it when I was 7, 8 years old in 92, 93. That game is $26, $27. Dracula's Curse again. There's the Symphony of the Night from PS1 Black Label, $88, $89 it sold for. So really well there. Great, great games. Castlevania. Have to love Castlevania. Okay, Rock Band and Guitar Hero are typically passes, but Rock Band 4 in the bundle. If you can find Rock Band 4 in the bundle, let me show you guys what this thing is worth. I did it for PS4 here. Xbox has one as well. The entire bundle. Now, you're going to have to figure out how to ship this thing, right? But you can see the used bundle with the drums, the guitar, the pedal, and the microphone. It's got to have all of it. The whole shebang is worth anywhere from the low 2s up to 400. Most of the time in the 279, 344, 300. If you've got everything and it's in excellent condition, unopened box, I mean, you could do really, really well on something like this. People just get rid of these because they hate Guitar Hero. Again, you're going to have to figure out how to ship it. But man, if you're picking it up for 25 bucks and selling it for $325, you can find a way to ship it. There's other bundles that are worth money as well. So don't write it off. If it's just a guitar or just one thing or just the game, it's probably not worth much. But if you've got the whole bundle, then definitely don't just write it off. It's awesome. So, Rock Band bundle, PS4. Okay, our greatest villain, Godzilla for PS4. Godzilla games, they do well anyways, but Godzilla for PS4, check him out. He's worth a fortune. Why? Because the game's fantastic. Some people argue with me. And because it was really rare. It came out in 2015, but there aren't a lot of copies of it. So the game is worth over, it's about $120, depending on where you get to it. So here's one that sold for $108. People didn't like this game. A lot of people complained about it. I was super hyped about it, and I'm mad because way back in the day, I did own one that I got for resale. At the time I picked it up, I paid 40 bucks for it, and I sold it for 90. And it is worth in the, you know, hundreds, 150 range now, which is fine. It, you know, at the time it was worth what it was worth, but I thought it was a fantastic game. You can go on YouTube and look up the gameplay of it. I loved it. I played it for a couple days before I sold it. So Godzilla PS4 worth about double what the retail was on it 5 years ago. So keep that in mind. Collector's edition games and bundles. So this is something, you know, like Warcraft, World of Warcraft is not worth a lot of money because you can get it offline. You know, you're paying for the gameplay, not the game. But if you look up stuff on the collector's edition side, people like to have that nostalgia. People like to have that original thing, even though they may not even use it. It's just to have as a collection. Again, we download World of Warcraft right off the internet, so we don't need to buy something. But look, here's a lot of the World of Warcraft collector's editions selling for in the mid-hundreds. Here's a Mists of Pandaria collector's edition. Wow, new rare. It was brand new here, so they sold this for $189. Here's one that sold Warlords of Draenor, sold for $65. World of Warcraft collector's edition anniversary, 15 from 2019, $155. So always look for things that are collector's edition. It doesn't guarantee they're expensive. But it could be. It could be. All right, our 4-man team, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. The Ninja Turtles video games, some of them are flops, and some of them do really, really well. So let's look at the solds and scroll down. Ninja Turtles. Everyone played Ninja Turtles, right? So here's the original NES. The game's only worth $10-15. Same with the Sega Tournament Fighters. Not really worth any money. But if we scroll down, the Hyperstone Heist from 91 is worth a lot of money. So make sure you're paying attention. The Hyperstone, worth money. The Tournament Fighter, not worth money. Okay, so there's a difference. 2 games side by side. Here it is again. Hyperstone, $97, right? The original Xbox one, not really worth any money. $10, not too much. But we go back to Super NES. It's a $30 to $40 game. We keep scrolling. We're going to find PC game for Ninja Turtles selling for $37. We're going to keep scrolling, and we're going to find the Fall of the Foot Clan Nintendo Game Boy game being worth $60 here. So every other one is worth money. Half the Ninja Turtle games worth money, half of them not. Here's a double pack of Game Boy Advance. So this one, $88 plus $98, $100 all in. We keep scrolling. And again, we find the Ninja Turtles from the original NES with all the cart and the manual and everything sold for $56. There's our SNES Turtles in Time. That's a $40 game. So a lot of these worth some money. The PS4 one, Mutants in Manhattan, brand new. It's only $30-35. Used, it's probably worth about $20. So keep that in mind. There's our Turtles in Time again. It's steady at $35-40 for the Super NES version. There was a 3DS edition, $24. That one's sealed, so be careful because it's probably not worth much. Used, $15 to $16. So lots of them worth money, lots of them not worth money. Okay. Another one that's lots of them worth money and lots of them not worth money, Mega Man. So the original Mega Man's from way back when. We're talking about Super NES, NES ones. A lot of them have value. So Mega Man 1, this one sold for $41. I'm not surprised. Some of the later Mega Mans did better, which you're going to see in a second. Super NES Mega Man X is about a $20-25 game. So is the original Game Boy game. The one that's really worth a lot of money, which you're going to see in a second, again, the X's, it's the X2, right? So this one's worth $95 to $100. I've sold this thing 10 times over for anywhere from $50 to $100. It has never gone down in value. It bounces up and down between $50 and $60, all the way up to $80, $90, but it's pretty standard in that high range. So the X is worth about $20, $25, and the X2 is worth more. But all these Mega Man games are $15, $20 games, up to the X2, which can be, $50 plus. Mega Man even Battle Network for the Game Boy Advance is a $25, $35 game. Here's Mega Man Legacy. Again, it's a collector's edition. See that? $90. So just keep an eye out. Here's the Mega Man Legends Black Label for PS1, the other one that's worth money. I've sold it between $40 and $60 all day long. I've sold it a couple times over. It's rare, though. You can't really find those. I've only sold 2 or maybe 3 in my lifetime of selling thousands of games. Mega Man 3 and Mega Man Revenge for Game Boy, the original Game Boy games, $15, $10, $15, up to $25. So pay cheap for those. And you can just see as you scroll through, some Mega Mans, money. Some, not as much money. Okay. Number 47, I believe this is, number 25 to 423. 22 is Kirby. Kirby's Adventure video games. Kirby does well in most of them. If we look at Kirby video games, Kirby's Dream Land, one you've probably seen. Let's go to solds. Kirby. All right, so Kirby 64, again, it's one of those N64 games. Crystal Shards, it's a $30 game. That's right on par. We've got Kirby's Dream Collection for Nintendo Wii, $30. That's probably right. It's got quite a few of the Kirby games in it. If we keep scrolling down, Kirby's Epic Yarn, do not get that game. It's terrible, and it's worth like $5. Kirby's Planet Robobot for 3DS was always a $25, $30 game. It's done well. Kirby 64, again, almost $30. Here's Kirby's Dream Course for Super NES, $30. You're really looking for the older Kirbys or the 3DS Kirbys. For the most part, N64 and Super NES are going to do well. Kirby Superstar, 8 games in 1. It's $34 for Super NES. That's about right, $30, $40. We keep scrolling down. Epic Yarn, $8. Please don't do it. Kirby's Dream Land 2 for Game Boy. They sold it for $24. That's probably right. Kirby's Return to Dreamland, no manual but tested. They got $25. So you guys can see Kirby in that mid-20s to $30 range for most of his games. Some of them cheap. Be careful. Donkey Kong, another one. He's going to be up and down, but make sure you look him up. But Donkey Kong's awesome. Donkey Kong. And you can just look up Donkey Kong video game or Kirby video game, however you got to do it. Donkey Kong video game. Whoops. Search. All right, and then we're going to sort. Obviously, another one, the Nintendo 64 is going to do fantastic on. It's yellow. Here's Donkey Kong from Wii, $10, $12 game. The Barrel Blast, $12, $13 game. Not really what you want for Donkey Kong. You want the N64 game. Here it sold for $21 all in. Probably worth a little more than that. The Donkey Kong Country for SNES, $25. Donkey Kong's never been worth a ton of money. 20's right, $25. But if you can get them for a few bucks and resell it, you're in business. Donkey Kong 64, again, $25. Donkey Kong Country Returns, $16, $25. Lots of games, all in the $15, $20 range. That's Donkey Kong. All right, I'm going to end it with 2 very, very expensive games. One you'll probably never find, but if you get lucky, I figure you should know about them. So DuckTales, the video game. DuckTales. You guys know. It's on Disney Plus, by the way, if you're interested. The DuckTales video game. Super rare. There's a couple of them, but there's one that is off the charts, super rare, expensive. I'm going to show you in a second. So when we get out of this and we refresh, DuckTales has a Wii U remastered game. It is worth a couple bucks, $20, $25. The original Disney DuckTales game for NES from '89 is worth about $12 to $15. Upwards of $20 for some of them. The Game Boy games are about $15 to $20. The Xbox 360 game is worth a little more. You can get about $25 to $30 for it. The one that's super, super rare, here it is. It's DuckTales 2 for the NES from '93. This one is worth anywhere in the mid-200s up to about $300, just depending on the condition and whatnot. So if we keep scrolling down, and really what we should do is just sort this by price highest first, and we'll be able to see a few of them. So there's a factory sealed one. Factory sealeds always do well. So the other one is 92, and it's Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck is also worth quite a fortune. So here's DuckTales 2 for $500, DuckTales 2 for $425. This game's worth at least $250. I would say $350 is probably closer to a real price. These $425s are doing really well with everything. DuckTales 2, 93, really the expensive one. They do pop up for sale. I mean, you could find one, I guess. But that one and Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck is not one you're ever going to see. I'm shocked that there's one on eBay right now. It's 92, Darkwing Duck factory sealed, $1,800. That's crazy. I don't even think I've seen a real one in real life. I've seen DuckTales. I've never owned it, but I've seen a guy that had one for sale for like $500. So Darkwing Duck from Capcom, and also Disney DuckTales 2. The last one is the one you've probably seen all over the internet, all over YouTube. Nintendo Championship 1990 from the World Championship Karts. So there's one listed right now for $124,000. There's another one listed for $150,000. So they came in gray, and they also came in gold. And so the gray ones were used during the World Championship. They have little buttons that let the players play the certain games for a certain amount of time. The gold ones were given away as a competition, not for winning, but just a giveaway. And so if we look at the solds, there are some that sell on eBay from time to time. I doubt there's any that have sold recently. We're going to look. Maybe. There may have been one, but they usually sell in private collectors. So reproduction. Look, reproduction, $350, $280, $260. People reproducing. As you can see, this is the most expensive one. Nobody has sold any of the real ones recently. If we look up just the word cartridge, again, probably no one has sold one recently. There are some real ones for sale. Most of the time what they do is they put them up to get the attention. They're not actually looking to sell it on eBay. They're simply looking for the free promoting, the free promotions, whatever you want to call it. And I don't really know. It's not really loading right now. Here we go. So we're going to click that championship cartridge. Yeah, so nobody has sold one anytime recently, just the reproductions, because they're only a couple hundred. These games can be worth 100,000 or up. I mean, they can be worth a lot. It is illegal to sell this reproduction. Absolutely illegal, so don't do it. But yeah, there you go. So that's the most expensive game you will ever see out of a Nintendo game. There's only a couple in existence, I believe. There's only a couple, you know, high-end ones. There's only a couple real silver ones floating around. Pat the NES Punk has some on his YouTube channel. He owns them, and he also took them into Pawn Stars on the TV show. So there you go. There's some of the most expensive, best-selling, and most common video games. 25 of them you want to keep an eye out for. Appreciate you getting through this whole video. If you want to learn these games, more video games, and 700 total items to buy and sell, pick up my list of guides, videos, and training down below. It's just $20.20, just a one-time payment, and it's all yours. And also, I did open up some training slots if you wanted to add to that training package for the complete 2020 and one-on-one video calls, mentoring calls for $99. I'll link that below it as well. So enjoy the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go out there, get those video games, thrift stores, yard sales, garage sales, pawn shops, and anywhere else you find them, estate sales. And let me know how you did on profits and what you flipped, what you sold, what you bought. And I love to hear the comments. Thanks as always. I'll see you next time.